These are the adventures of the party going through a grim world of perilous adventure of the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Chapter 2. After successfully dealing with the water supply crisis in Nuln, Lethilian and Grundnir receive a summons from the Countess Emanuelle von Liebewitz. She requests that two of them visit her at her estate, Castle Liebewitz, outside of Altdorf. Upon arriving at the castle, the adventurers are ushered into the Countess's private chambers, where she explains that she has a delicate matter that requires their assistance. The Countess is concerned about her son, Count Marius, who has been acting strangely lately. She suspects that someone is manipulating him and possibly even attempting to harm him. The Countess wishes for them to investigate the matter discreetly and report back to her with any findings. She provides them with a letter of introduction to the court of Marienburg, where Marius is currently residing, and promises a handsome reward for their services. The duo sets out for Marienburg, where they will need to gather information, navigate the city's politics, and uncover the truth behind Count Marius's peculiar behavior. Finally, after what seemed like several weeks of travel, they arrive at the gates of Marienburg. The bustling port city is a sight to behold, with ships of all shapes and sizes coming in and out of the harbor, and people from all walks of life going about their business. The adventurers make their way to the headquarters of the Merchants' Guild, where they are greeted by a portly man with a bushy mustache and a fur-lined coat. He introduces himself as Hermann Meyer, the head of the Merchants' Guild. "Welcome to Marienburg," he says with a smile. "Please, follow me." Meyer leads them to a large map of the city and begins to explain the situation. Our agent, Heinrich von Jungen, was investigating the activities of a group known as the Black Grimoire. They are a secretive organization that deals in forbidden knowledge and dark magic. Von Jungen had been getting close to uncovering their secrets when he disappeared. "We believe that the Black Grimoire is based in the Dock District, but we don't know exactly where. Your task is to find out where they are located and what they are up to. We will provide you with whatever resources you need, but time is of the essence. The longer they are allowed to operate, the greater the threat they pose to the city." Meyer hands them a purse of gold and some basic equipment. "Good luck, and may Sigmar watch over you," Lethilian says.
"Thank you, and the same to you."
He asks Grundnir,
"Do you think we should go for a drink to relax a bit from the road, and maybe ask around the tavern about this task?"
Grundnir nods in agreement and replies,
"Aye, a drink sounds like a good idea, and who knows, we might find something useful at the tavern."
The two of them head towards the nearest tavern, a cozy establishment called the Tipsy Ogre. Inside, they can hear the sounds of lively chatter and clinking glasses. They find a table in a corner and order some ale. As Lethilian and Grundnir enjoy their drinks, they strike up a conversation with some of the locals. They tell them that Marienburg is a city of great wealth and power, but also of corruption and danger. They warn him to be careful, especially around the nobles and the underworld. They ask if anyone knows anything about a man named Leopold von Liebewitz, but nobody seems to have heard of him. However, one of the locals suggests that they might find more information at the Golden Boar Inn, a well-known meeting place for the city's wealthy and influential. With this new lead in mind, they finish their drinks and set out towards the Golden Boar Inn. As two of them enter the tavern, they notice that it is packed with people, and the atmosphere is lively. The noise of conversation and clinking glasses fills the air. They find an empty table and sit down, ordering some drinks from the serving girl. There are a few merchants sitting at a nearby table, huddled together and deep in conversation. Lethilian stands up from the table where he and Grundnir sat and approaches respectfully and salutes them. The merchants turn to Lethelian and nod their heads in greeting. One of them says, "What can we do for you?" Lethelian asks them,
"Do you know anything about von Jungen?"
The merchants glance at each other before one of them speaks up. "Von Jungen? Can't say we know much about him. Only thing we've heard is that he's a wealthy merchant with ties to some of the higher-ups in Marienburg." "Why do you ask?" Lethelian replies,
"We were sent on a task by a friend of ours, and he asked us to look for von Jungen. Do you have any idea where we might find him, or who we should speak to about him?"
The merchants exchange a knowing look, and one of them speaks up. "Von Jungen? The man's got more enemies than he's got friends, I'll tell you that much. He's a high-ranking official in Marienburg, but he's got a lot of skeletons in his closet. Some say he's involved in all sorts of illegal activities, but he's got enough influence to keep the law off his back." Another merchant chimes in. "I've heard he's got some connections to the rat men. They're a nasty lot, and if von Jungen is involved with them, it can't be anything good." The first merchant nods in agreement. "Aye, and I've heard rumors that he's been involved with some unsavory characters in the Empire as well." The second merchant adds, "But if you're looking to get close to him, you'd better watch your step. The man's got a mean streak a mile wide, and he's not afraid to use his influence to get what he wants." Lethelian lowers his eyes on the table and says,
"Yes, but I was hoping to ask him about a book."
He looks them under the brow and waits for their reactions. The merchants exchange a quick glance before one of them responds, "What kind of book, if you don't mind me asking?" There is a sense of hesitation in their tone, as if they are uncertain if they should be discussing this topic with. Lethelian looks them right in the eye, leans to them.
"A grimoire, to be precise."
The merchant simply shrugs and says, "Sorry, I can't help you with that. I'm just a simple merchant, not a scholar or wizard. But if you're looking for some good ale or a hot meal, I can certainly recommend the innkeeper here." The other merchant appears to be listening intently to the conversation, but he doesn't seem to be showing any particular reaction to the mention of the grimoire. He seems more focused on the possibility of doing business. Lethelian says,
"You know, I've heard that the book can give you lots of powerful connections."
Then he sits up from the table and continues,
"But if you know nothing of the sort, gentlemen, I shall bother you no more. Thank you for your time."
The two merchants exchange glances with each other. The first merchant, the one who seemed more nervous, speaks up. "Wait a moment, friend. We might have heard something about a grimoire that could be of interest to you." He leans in closer to Lethelian and lowers his voice. "We heard rumors that a certain noble in Marienburg has been seeking a powerful grimoire, and that he's willing to pay a hefty sum for it. His name is Lord Rufus von Mecklenburg, and he's known to be a collector of rare and valuable objects." The second merchant chimes in, "But be warned, he's also a very dangerous man. He's rumored to have ties to all sorts of unsavory characters, and he's not afraid to use violence to get what he wants." The first merchant nods in agreement. "Yes, it's best to steer clear of him if you can. But if you do manage to find the grimoire he's looking for, you could make a fortune." As they finish their warning and advice, the two merchants go back to their drinks and continue their conversation, seemingly eager to avoid any further involvement in the matter. Lethelian says,
"Thank you, gents. I shall order a round of drinks for you from the innkeeper. Farewell."
The two merchants nod in appreciation as he bids them farewell and makes his way to the innkeeper. He orders a round of drinks for them as promised, and they seem grateful for the gesture. As the ranger sits back down at his table, Grundnir looks at him curiously.
"Did you find out anything useful?"
he asks.
"I'm not sure."
The elf replied.
"They seem to know something about von Jungen, but they were being very cautious. It's possible they know something about the grimoire as well, but they weren't willing to say anything outright.
Grundnir grunts in frustration.
Typical Marienburgers, all talk and no action.
They both sit in silence for a few moments, contemplating their next move. Finally, they decide to head to the local library to see if they can find any information on the grimoire. It takes some time to locate the library, but when they do, they are pleasantly surprised to find a wealth of information at their disposal. They spend several hours poring over old tomes and scrolls, taking notes on anything that might be relevant to their quest. As the day wears on, the adventurers begin to piece together various clues and insights. Finally, they come across a mention of the book in an obscure text from the past century. The text mentions a powerful sorcerer who dabbled in dark magic and was rumored to possess a grimoire of great power that fits the description. It also says that the book supposedly possessed the powers to provide the user with great wealth and influence, and ambitious individuals were interested in acquiring it. With this new knowledge, the adventurers decide to go to the dock district and scout around to see what they can find. As two of them make their way to the dock district, they see that it's a bustling area with ships and boats coming and going, and various people going about their business. They start to ask around if anyone has seen or heard of any strange activities or gatherings around, but no one seems to know anything. After some time, one of the dock workers mentions that he has seen some suspicious individuals hanging around a particular warehouse at night. Lethilian and Grundnir decide to investigate the warehouse. After some time, the adventurers come across a seedy-looking building with no visible signage or markings. There's a small alleyway next to it that seems like a good spot to observe the building from a distance. As they keep an eye on the building from the alleyway, they notice a few shady-looking characters going in and out of the main door. They seem to be keeping a low profile and moving quickly, making it clear that they don't want to be seen or followed. After a while, they see a man with a black hooded cloak opening the door and talking to a couple of persons behind the door and then entering. He seemed to be in a hurry and didn't even glance in their direction. Lethilian says,
Grundnir, it is possible that guards are behind the door. I think we should try and find some other way to get in.
Grundnir replies,
We don't want to spoil the surprise. Let's look around and see what we can find.
After looking for some other entrance, they come across an arched hole in the base of the building used for unloading coal in the basement. The coal chute is big enough to pass through but is barred with rusted iron bars. Grundnir notices that the arch bricks are loose and the mortar has deteriorated from humidity. He manages to break a few of them off with the bottom of his axe handle, and then the rest of the chute's arch, setting loose the iron bars. After some hard kicking, he managed to knock out few of the bars, which was enough for them to get inside the basement. They carefully open the basement door and follow the maze of dimly lit corridors and stairs until they finally come to the door with muffled voices coming from behind them. As they approach, they notice that the door slightly ajar, allowing them to peek inside. They see a very large, dimly lit storage area filled with crates and barrels, and several people moving about. They can hear snippets of conversation that suggest they're discussing illicit activities. Grundnir gestures for Lethilian to follow him as he quietly pushes the door open further and steps inside. There are various crates and barrels scattered around, some of which appear to have been opened and rifled through. There are also several guards stationed around the room, keeping watch over the area. They crouch behind the line of crates, being careful to avoid creaky floorboards and other potential hazards. As the adventurers move through the room, looking between the crates, they notice that most of the people here are wearing black cloaks with hoods. And many of them have various arcane symbols tattooed on their arms or hands. They can sense that they're in a dangerous place, and they both remain alert and ready for any sudden movements. From their vantage point, they can see a total of 6 people in the room. There are 3 men sitting at a table, and 3 more people, 1 man and 2 women, standing near the shelves. They're deep in conversation, and don't seem to have noticed their presence yet. As Lethilian and Grundnir both huddle behind the crates, they strain their ears to listen to the conversation between the men. "You're sure you weren't followed?" a raspy voice asks. "I'm positive. I made sure to double back and check," another voice responds. "Good. And the book? Did you find it?" "Yes. It was in the safe, just as you said." "Excellent. Give it here. We'll hold on to it until we're ready to use it." There is a sound of something being unpacked, followed by a shuffling of feet. "Now, on to the next task," the raspy voice continues. "We need to make sure that the dockworkers' strike doesn't spread any further. Get in touch with the local bosses and make sure they keep their men in line." Lethilian carefully peeks through the small opening in the crates and manages to catch a glimpse of the book. It appears to be an old, leather-bound tome with strange symbols and sigils etched on its cover. He can sense a faint aura of power emanating from it. As they continue to listen, they hear the leader of the group mention the Black Grimoire, confirming suspicions that it is indeed what they are after. They seem to be discussing the book's potential power and the various ways they can use it to their advantage. The guards seem to be getting restless, shifting their weight and checking their weapons. It seems like they may be getting ready to leave soon. Lethilian and Grundnir start communicating in whispers and gestures and agree they should go back through the basement and follow the leader and try to get the book. As they start to inch closer to the door, Grundnir's axe hits one of the crates. The guards immediately turn their attention, and the leader of the group reaches for his weapon. The adventurers nod to each other and Grundnir charges one guard and Lethilian tries to shoot another. As the guards are taken by surprise, Grundnir quickly dispatches one guard with his axe while Lethilian's arrow misses the target and hits one of the crates instead. The remaining guards draw their weapons and prepare to defend themselves. The leader of the group, who was examining the book on the desk, stands up and draws his own weapon as well. Grundnir roars and charges towards the remaining guards, swinging his axe in a wide arc. The guards try to defend themselves but are quickly overwhelmed by his strength and skill. Meanwhile, Lethilian draws his sword and engages the leader in combat. The ranger easily slays the leader and attacks other members, while the dwarf overcomes the other guards. The fight is intense, with both sides trading blows. However, the adventurers land a decisive strike that sends the last member sprawling to the ground. As the fight dies down and the last of the guards fall, Lethilian and Grundnir quickly search the room. After a few moments, they find the book in a bag under the wooden table, where the leader had been examining it. Lethilian picks up the book, feeling a strange sensation. It's as if the book is trying to resist him, pushing back against his touch. He quickly puts it in his backpack, eager to get out of the room and away from the strange aura emanating from the book. Searching the leader's possessions, Grundnir finds an opened letter. Signed, Von Jungen. The letter details his dealings with the Black Grimoire organization and his plans to use the book for his own gain.
"Well, Grundnir,"
says the elf.
"Looks like we succeeded in finishing our task once again, don't you think?"
Grundnir grins and nods.
"Aye, we did, though it wasn't without its challenges,"
he says, gesturing to the bruises and cuts on his body. As they both catch their breath, they hear running footsteps approaching from outside the door. It seems someone else has heard the commotion and is coming to investigate.
"We should hide if we want to make another surprise attack,"
says Lethilian. Grundnir hides behind the crates near the door and he hides behind the door with his bow drawn and aiming. As they both hide and wait for potential threats, they hear footsteps approaching the door. It's difficult to discern how many people are coming. As only 2 guards run into the room, Lethilian steps away from the door and releases his arrow. It flies true and hits the guard in the back, taking him down instantly. The other guard turns to face him, but before he can react, Grundnir charges out from behind the crates and lands a crushing blow on the guard's head, taking him out. As they leave the warehouse, they hear the sounds of approaching guards, likely alerted by the commotion. Lethilian and Grundnir quickly make their way to the inn to avoid being seen, where they can plan their next move.